Hello, my name is Kenny Ungoder, and today I'm going to teach my friend Giniyat the principal-agent problem. In order to teach this friend of mine, I'm going to use this illustration below that you see in order to explain how the principal-agent problem is something that is experienced very oftentimes in the bureaucracy. So, a great example of this happening is, say, the popular opinion regarding global warming in Texas is that it doesn't exist, right? And the governor, whose job is to remain popular, would like to show his support for this idea, right? So rather than having the teachers in universities teach what is scientifically proven, instead he might try to get the teachers to teach that it does not exist or not mention it at all.
In order to stay popular.
In order to stay popular, exactly. Because his job is to remain popular and to stay in office, right? Which isn't a bad thing. Like, I know it sounds kind of bad when I say it, but it kind of encourages him to do his job if he wants to stay popular, right? To do what the people want.
As an obligation to the people.
Exactly. So it's actually not a bad thing. But the teacher's jobs, on the other hand, is not to stay popular. It's not to help the governor stay popular. It's to educate the students, right? To make sure that they're adequately informed of different things, maybe like the fact that global warming exists, right? So over here, there's this little illustration, and here's the governor in the nice hat saying, "Teach that global warming doesn't exist," right? And then we have a teacher on the right who says, "I can't. As a teacher, my job is to educate my students." And the governor says, as a result, then you're fired, right? So this would be a very bad thing if any time a professor said something that wasn't very politically popular, he'd get threatened, to be fired for it, right? So one solution that that people try to make in order to prevent things like this from happening is called tenure. And what tenure does is it makes it very difficult for people with special skills, such as professors, right, from being fired just because of saying or doing something that's politically unpopular, right? So one thing to keep in mind is that in the principal-agent problem, like this governor to professor example, the workers, in this case the professors, have special skills that the governor or the principal does not have, right? So it wouldn't make sense to give the principal, in this case the governor, the power to fire certain professors when he doesn't specialize in the same skills that they have and might not be able to make an educated decision about firing them for that reason, So yeah, in this case, what tenure does is it allows this professor to keep working, and when the governor might want to threaten to fire him, the professor can be like, "Psych, I got tenure," and in that regard, he can't be touched whatsoever, There is a downside to tenure, though, which is why it is not a solution to the principal-agent problem. The downside is, okay, so the worker is now aware that he or she cannot be fired. So because of that, he's going to be lazy, right? He's not going to work as hard as he needs to in order to keep his job, right?
Because he can't lose it.
Because he can't lose it, that's right. So his performance is going to drop, possibly considered, it's not guaranteed it's going to drop, but chances are, if you think about human nature, it will drop, right? So that's the one issue with this. By protecting your workers from being fired, it makes them lazier. By not protecting them, they're going to work harder to keep their job, but they're at risk of being fired for politically unsound reasons.
Or worse yet, being subject to those political reasons.
Exactly. All right, so one thing I'm going to do real quick is I am going to give you this quiz.
Yes, sir.
That I created. It's 5 questions on the principal-agent problem. If you get an 80 or above, which means if you miss one or less, one or none, essentially, then, yeah, you have understood the principal-agent problem, and I've taught it to you adequately.
I see.
So hold on one second. I'm just going to put my entire camera on this, and whoever's watching can pause it and see if they themselves can answer all of these questions based on what I've taught. All right. So I will pause the video, you will do that, and then we'll get right back to it.